Welcome back, guys. This is homework helper number 3. Today we're going to be focusing on observation and inference, and if you need help with your homework helper aside from just watching this video, you can also go back to daysheet number 3 to look at your notes. So the first thing that we always want to do whenever we're asked to do an assignment in this class or really any class is to look at the directions. So when I'm looking at the directions, I notice that it says to label each of the following observations as either quantitative or qualitative, and we're going to use these abbreviations that are denoted in the directions. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody knows the difference between a quantitative observation and a qualitative observation. The easiest way, and this is what Miss Lane and I told you in class, is to look for the N. So quantitative has the letter N in it, and luckily that's the same letter that the word number starts with. So quantitative observations always have numbers. Qualitative observations sound like the word quality. So it's going to be words describing something without using any numbers. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's look at number 1. Number 1 says, the hummingbird's feather is very soft. So the first thing I'm going to ask myself, do I see any numbers in number 1? And I don't. So I should automatically be saying to myself that it's not quantitative. Instead, it is qualitative. And I'm going to use the QUAL abbreviation because that's what the directions ask me to do. Number 2, the hummingbird's feather is 3 centimeters long. And here's the key. I see a number, so we're going to say that this is quantitative. Number 3, the cockroach has 6 legs. Now here's the tricky part, because some people will look at this really quickly and they'll say that there are no numbers. But in fact, we spelled the number out, but it's still a number. So this is still a quantitative observation. Now let's look at the next one in this grouping, the last one in this grouping. It says the cockroach's antennae are long. I don't see any numbers in this. These are all qualities describing what the antennae actually look like, so this is going to be qualitative. All right, now that we are done with the first section, let's drop down and look at the second section. Again, we always want to look at the directions first. So the directions say to label the following statements as either an observation or an inference. And we're going to use an O if it's an observation and an I if it's an inference. A quick reminder, if something is an observation, we're talking about our 5 senses, collecting information using our 5 senses. If it's an inference, it's going to be an educated guess. So it's something that you can't determine by simply looking at something. So it's not what you're hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, or touching. So let's look at number 1. The swallowtail butterfly laid its eggs on the flower. Am I making an educated guess here, or is this something that I can actually observe using my 5 senses? Where I can actually observe this, so I'm going to go ahead and put an O because that's an observation. Number 2. The swallowtail butterfly's favorite flower is a rose. So now we need to think about this. Can we look at a swallowtail butterfly and know exactly what its favorite flower is? Or do we have to make an educated guess in order to figure this out? And obviously we might be able to see that it lands on a rose, and it might land on a rose a lot, but we don't know that it's its favorite because we can't ask it. So we know that this is an educated guess or an inference. Looking at number 3, the chimpanzee ate 300 termites. Can we actually see a chimpanzee eating 300 termites? The answer is yes, so we can use our 5 senses. So this is an observation. Number 4, the chimpanzee seems sad. Now, just because something looks sad or has a frown on its face doesn't necessarily mean that it's sad. We're making an educated guess. So for number 4, the chimpanzee seems sad, that is an inference. Let's look at our last one in this section, number 5. The pig's favorite activity is to play in the mud. Anytime you see the word favorite, when we're applying it to another organism, we don't know that it's its favorite if we can't actually talk to it and ask it. So again, we can see it playing in the mud a lot, but we don't actually know that it's its favorite activity. We just see it happen a lot. So we're making an educated guess. So once again, number 5 is an inference. All right, let's look at our last section of our homework. For our last section, we have a new set of directions. It says fill in the blank spaces with either observations or inferences. So I'm going to draw a line down the middle so that I don't get confused. And I know everything that's on the left-hand side is going to be an observation. These are things that I can actually see happening or smell happening or touch, or all of these things that are using our 5 senses. So these are things that can be perceived. Everything on the right-hand side are going to be our inferences, so all of the things that you write on the right-hand side have to be an educated guess. So keep that in mind when we're going through. For number 1, it says, Miss Cook is wearing a red lab coat. That's my observation because I'm able to see that. What inference can we come up with? Now, there's not just one right answer. There are a ton of right answers that can go here. But for our class purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put in one educated guess based on that. So if Miss Cook is wearing a red lab coat, maybe my educated guess is Miss Cook is cold. Now you could have lots of other things. You can say Miss Cook needs extra pockets. You can say Miss Cook wants to look different from her students. Miss Cook wants to stand out and look crazy. Any of those things would work for the inference. Number 2, Miss Cook's room smells like fish. That's my observation. So our inference is going to be an educated guess based on that. Lots of different things would work here, but this is what I'm going to write. My educated guess is Miss Cook ate fish for lunch. Now for our last one, we're going to move in the opposite direction. So I started you out with an inference, an educated guess. The teacher must be happy. So I need to come up with an observation that would allow someone to believe that this might be true based on what they are perceiving in their environment. So the teacher must be happy. What observation can we make? So the observation that we can make is Miss Cook was smiling in the hallway. Now you guys again are not limited to this, but this is just one observation that could lead you to believe that Miss Cook must be happy. All right, that's the end of the homework. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to stop by and see us or to refer to day sheet number 3 to get additional help. Thanks so much for watching.